I remember that day like it was yesterday. It started off just like any other. I had to run some errands for my gran, who had been recovering from a couple of surgeries. At 28 years old, my life was pretty normal, but looking after my grandmother had become a significant part of my routine. She was a fighter. I admired that about her. Each day spent helping her through recovery reminded me how strong she was, but it also had its moments that tested my patience. I rose early that morning, the sunlight peeking through the curtains like an eager child wanting to start another day. I brewed some coffee, the rich aroma filling the kitchen, and prepared myself for the tasks ahead. Gran needed to make it to the bank. Her disability had complicated her ability to take care of her affairs, being in and out of medical appointments, and she had managed to need my assistance once again. Let's make this quick, shall we? I said to her as she settled into her favorite chair, trying to stretch her limbs in the clumsy way only someone who had just spent weeks in bed could. We piled into my car, an old but reliable beast of a vehicle, and headed out. Driving through the familiar streets felt routine, each corner reminding me of past adventures and misadventures with Gran. She shared stories from her youth, and despite the physical limitations, there was a spark in her eye that said she was still the same vibrant woman. Once we arrived at the bank, my heart sank. The parking lot was abysmal. It was a small bank with limited space, almost as if the architects had decided that banking really didn't need to accommodate the masses. After a few laps around the lot, I didn't see any available spots, not one that was close enough to the entrance to allow me to manage Gran's wheelchair. With patience running thin, I parked far away and maneuvered to lower the wheelchair from the car. Just as I was about to set everything up, my frustration skyrocketed. In front of the ramp designated for handicapped access, there was a vehicle blatantly parked. I glanced at my watch. Time was slipping away, and I did not want to make my grandmother wait any longer than needed. The ramp was crucial for a smooth transition, and I felt the anxiety crawl up my spine. I could feel my heart beat faster as I eyed the offender's car. It was a shiny sedan, clearly brand new and well taken care of. I let out an exasperated sigh. Seriously, I mumbled under my breath. Do people not understand basic decency? Every other parking space was filled, and I knew this was a moment of decision. Ignoring the parking rules was something I could not let slide, especially not at my Gran's expense. I took a deep breath, trying to keep calm. But that calm quickly faded as I saw the woman casually sauntering away from the bank, completely oblivious to the fact that she was blocking access for someone who truly needed it. I felt a twinge of anger, not just for the inconvenience she had caused, but for the blatant disregard for others' needs. I parked directly behind her car, hoping for her to notice me. Indeed, my intention was not to escalate anything unnecessarily. But alas, before I could even lower Gran and set up her wheelchair, she continued on her way, just waddling along with her purse swinging at her side. Unbelievable, I said to myself, as I lowered Gran down, doing my best to block thoughts of this woman's ignorance. Gran seemed to pick up on my frustration, but she had seen me agitated before and wisely kept quiet, letting me deal with my boiling emotions. It took me a few minutes to carefully assist Gran into her wheelchair without jostling her too much, as she often needed extra care given her condition. With her finally set, I decided to make my point. I slowly wheeled her to the ramp, approaching the woman who still stood there chatting with a bank employee. As we reached the ramp, I parked Gran's chair just at the bottom of the incline. "Excuse me," I said, letting just enough irritation seep into my voice to make my point clear. "Could you please move your car? This ramp is supposed to be for people who actually need it." I hoped my words would carry some weight, that perhaps a moment of awareness might awaken her. She turned to glare at me, her cocky demeanor clearly unshaken. "I was just running in for a quick errand. Get over it, loser." The contempt dripping from her voice felt like a slap in the face. I stood there for a moment, dumbfounded, anger rising within me like a tidal wave. How could she be so oblivious? Gran looked up at me, concern etched across her face. "You don't need to waste your energy, sweetheart. Let's just go inside." I could see she was trying to ease the situation, but this was a defining moment. I had grown tired of people thinking they could do whatever they wanted without a thought for those around them. Taking another breath, I made a decision. I was going to teach her a lesson about respect. While people often rolled their eyes at the righteous indignation of others, I realized that sometimes you had to stand up for what was right. Ignoring Gran's gentle protests, I positioned the wheelchair slightly so that it blocked more of the ramp, defiantly resolute. "Actually," I insisted louder now, "you are being incredibly selfish. You're creating a situation where someone might not be able to get in at all." The woman crossed her arms, obviously irritated that someone would dare challenge her actions. "I'll just be a minute," she said with a huff, rolling her eyes. But by then I was determined to not only make her feel shame, but to let it sink in deeply. "I hope you understand that someone could really use this right now," I said, leaning in, planting my feet firmly on the ground. "Perhaps you should consider how you would feel if you were in a similar situation." I noticed a few curious onlookers from cars nearby, my passionate words drawing attention. The woman scoffed at my words, unfazed. Yeah, right, you think I care about what you think. She said dismissively, starting to turn back toward the bank as if our confrontation had bored her. Of course you do, I said, locking eyes with her. This is about integrity, about common decency. So far you have shown none today. I really did not care about creating more chaos, but I felt in that moment an overwhelming need to stand my ground, to not let her cavalier attitude slide. After what felt like an eternity, there seemed to be a change in her demeanor. Perhaps it was the looks from a few other people starting to form a small audience, or the fact that I was glaring straight back at her with a determined gaze. I took this moment and seized it. I rolled Grand's wheelchair just a couple of inches further on the ramp, making it undeniably difficult for her to simply walk past us. Just move your car, I urged her again, a firm tone now infused with urgency. With a huff, the woman stomped her foot, and I felt a smirk creep in. Fine, I will. She barked and turned back towards her car with exaggerated steps. Grand chuckled softly, likely amused that I had finally found my boldness. It was a small victory, but one that I felt immensely proud of. The expression on this woman's face as she huffed back to her vehicle was priceless, probably because she had never been stood up to like that. Maybe you will think twice before parking carelessly again, I murmured softly to Gran, who seemed pleased with the entire unfolding of events. The woman climbed into her car, prompting me to nudge Grand's chair closer to the ramp's edge. The woman revved her engine and backed out, frustration emanating from her. I turned and nodded toward Gran while assisting her up the ramp, feeling a profound satisfaction wash over me. As we entered the bank, an unexpected moment of realization hit me. I may have succeeded in making a small, satisfying point, but my inner self started grappling with the pointless escalation and rigor of the situation I had created. Sure, I had pushed back against a perceived slight. However, I sensed something about it felt hollow. Moments like this often wound tightly and never lead to a clear resolution. Instead, they linger in the air like unsaid apologies. The rest of the day breezed by, and as we concluded our bank visits, Gran filled my ears with encouragement, telling me how proud she was of my outburst. In truth, I was happy about standing my ground. I just hoped that the situation had made a lasting impact. As I wheeled her back to the car, I could not shake the encounter with the woman from my mind. Would she change? Would she think twice next time? But driving home, the day took an unexpected turn. As we passed the local coffee shop, a quaint little place that usually buzzed with life, my eye caught something. The shiny sedan was parked right there in the coffee shop's lot, and the woman was nonchalantly seated inside, sipping a drink, completely unaware of the ripple effect of her actions earlier that morning. I felt this sudden, electrically charged urge. Perhaps it would not harm to deliver the final nail. After all, I was not just going to let this slip by without making a statement. I had already enforced my feelings through action. I could not simply let go now, not after everything that had transpired. And so I parked the car, waiting for my moment. Gran, wait here, I will be right back, I said, my pulse racing. Her eyes widened slightly, a silent question passing between us. She shrugged but respected my intent, watching as I walked towards the coffee shop front. I approached her car. The woman eyed me warily, recognizing me just as I hummed with confidence. Well, if it isn't the Crusader for the handicapped, she said mockingly, taking a sip of her coffee. Funny seeing you here, I replied coolly, leaning against her car. I see you have returned, this time without the audacity to park illegally. Looks like someone is learning. She rolled her eyes, looking away. Apparently, she wasn't in the mood for a revisit to our previous encounter, but I could not resist prolonging this moment. Just to remind you, parking blocks people who actually need the space. Please consider that again next time. She stared at me, annoyance evident on her face. Why do you care? I smiled, letting my earlier anger dissipate. Because someone out there might need your sensitivity, and perhaps one day you could find yourself at the receiving end of this. You never know what life brings. I felt oddly enlightened at that moment, realizing that this was not just about her transgressions. It was about a dialogue that could trigger change. The woman's expression wavered, annoyance slowly giving way to contemplation. It wasn't a total win or loss on her part, but it certainly self-admittedly had rattled her, and for once she seemed to let my words sink in. So I walked back to my car with a grin, satisfied not just by how the story unfolded, but realizing I had delivered a piece of impactful truth. Once back at the car, I felt renewed for whatever lay ahead. Gran looked at me knowingly as I resumed driving. What did you say to her? She asked, sparking my heart with warmth, eager to share my experience. Well, let's just say a lesson was served today, and it had a touch of irony attached. I smiled, and as I looked ahead, knowing that I had made my point while weaving a lesson learned. That day taught me to confront ignorance directly, to stand up not only for my grandmother, but for everyone else who might face the same challenges. It became apparent my life had forged deeper meanings and realizations, and perhaps this tale had sparked something bigger than a mere revenge or payback. Life continues to fly by, often with unexpected confrontations, showing how crucial kindness and awareness can step in when you least expect it. It felt good to know I took a stand, to change someone's perspective, albeit in a small way. Maybe it was just one of a long series of teachings about compassion, understanding, and empathy. And as they say, each day is a chance to restart, to learn and teach others in turn. So I leave you this question. What would you do in the face of ignorance? Would you confront, educate, or simply walk away? Look around, consider those challenges, and embrace whatever unexpected experiences life may throw your way. There are always lessons in the petty battles you choose to fight, ones that deepen the nature of your character.